What's up, nerds? Welcome to a unscripted Morphin March video. I'm doing this completely raw here. First and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of you guys that has been watching the videos this year. It's been super inspiring. It's been very, very helpful to me. Just thank you. Thank you so much. It means a lot. It really does. I wanted to take this time, now that I've uploaded all but one of the videos I plan to upload this year for Morphin March. I want to take a little second to talk about a few things. But before we talk about Mighty Morphin, I'm actually going to rewind the clock a little bit and talk about SPD. Also, obviously, what you're seeing right now, that's not Mighty Morphin. That's not Power Rangers at all. I'm going to ask you to forgive that. I'm getting a little experimental with my visuals and trying to see what I can get away with for like virtual reality stuff. So that's why you're seeing this. Anyways, SPD. A lot of people say that it is the best Power Rangers show, and I definitely see that. It's been over a year since I've seen it at this point, but I do remember that it's very good, and like I recommend it highly for a reason. You may recall in last year's character countdown, I did not rank Grum or Omni at all. Omni, I think, is self-explanatory. He's a shoot-in final villain that showed up at the last possible second. He didn't have any screen time to, like, be what he is. Like, it's kind of cool that he's, in the shadows, orchestrating everything. It's kind of cool that he's the one that's been controlling Grum, but we don't see that. We don't really get to know Omni other than just evil bad guy. So it's like he could have been very interesting, but he just did not end up being so. And Grum, I mentioned this a little bit when I was doing the Let's Play of the SPD Game Boy game, but basically the fact that all of his decisions in the show were more or less governed by Omni, it tanks him down by a lot. Like, I almost considered putting him on the list anyways because of how he and Kruger tie in with each other. But ultimately, I just decided that was not enough to save him. I just did not think that Grum was enough of a character, knowing what I know about Omni, to really make him all that good. Especially when he's kind of a Zed clone. When you really stop and look at the two side by side, you can kind of tell he's a bit of a Zed clone. Another one person, a commenter, I cannot recall who off the top of my head, but I'll put their name on. I'll put the comment on screen here. Said that Boom got ripped off for not being given a Power Ranger morpher after Jack retired, and like, I see what you're talking about. It would have been nice, but let's not forget the guy has 0 combat proficiency. So, like, yeah, that would have been super fun, but realistically, he's better off in the labs with Cat. I know I didn't really explain too much about the SWAT flyers in SPD, and honestly, like, I called them samey. That's not true. I think I was mistaking their appearances for Time Force Megazord, which is something I'll get into when the time is right. But even without that, we never see the SWAT Force Megazord. We never see the SWAT Megazord struggle. We never see it like have difficulty. We never see it try to overcome some big hurdle. Not even against Omni. The most that happens there is just, it It takes a really big hit. That's it. But all the Megazords are capable of taking really big hits. So it doesn't stand out. It just the SWAT Megazord just kind of felt like a MacGuffin more than a proper thing. You know? That makes sense? Yeah, I believe that's everything I wanted to kind of cover again with SPD. So, going into Mighty Morphin, there's a lot more to say. I will admit, I do have a few regrets about how I handled this month. Not major ones, mind you. It's just I kind of wish I had taken some more time to focus on the non-multi-part episodes, since I put so much emphasis on them for all 3 seasons. It kind of tarnishes the show a little bit as far as like speaking of it. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to misrepresent Mighty Morphin, especially when it does have some really good single parters. Like I mentioned it, the episode where Bulk and Skull inadvertently discover who the Rangers are when they're fighting the Collider monster, like that guy. I really like that episode. I did not really remember most of season 2 when I was watching everything for this month. So when I got to that episode and realized the heroes of the day were Bulk and Skull of all people, like I was shocked. I was amazed. It was so different. It was so cool. It was so fun. Like I loved how different that was. That was really neat. I don't really know how else to say it. I do feel like Bulk and Skull were a bit of a crutch for the writers when it comes to comedy. More often than not, if something that is happening on screen that's supposed to be funny, it's usually at the expense of those two. And, it's not bad for a kid's show to have a character that is constantly being picked on. Especially when when those characters are depicted as bullies. But I don't know. I can't help but be that person who wanted just a little bit more. Although I have the benefit of hindsight and knowing that Bulk and Skull get a lot of, well, just a lot for the next couple of shows. I won't go into it here, but just stay tuned for next year. Stay tuned for next year. That's all I'll say. I've already done a little bit of preliminary reviewing of Zeo, and I've been liking what I see. I wasn't expecting to not like it. It's Power Rangers, and I'm easy to please. When it comes to the Rangers, I know I harped on the cast drama a lot, especially with like Tommy being the leader. One thing I did not mention was that the whole Tommy Oliver being made the leader thing, that was also, at least in part, Jason David Frank's idea. Like, he contributed to that mindset. And as much as I loved the guy, rest in peace, I just think that was unnecessary. I've never really liked the idea of the White Ranger being the leader. It's just, I don't know. It comes down to the fact that I grew up with a bunch of different Power Ranger shows, all of which had the Red Ranger definitively as the leader. We'll see a little bit more of this whole, like, leadership challenging thing when we get to Dino Thunder, and, amusingly enough, whoops, it's Tommy again, but it's more understandable then than it is now. And it really is something that I take a lot of personal issue with. And I tried not to keep, like, the pettier opinions of mine, like that one, involved when I was making the character countdown for this month. I know that hasn't released yet, but let's just say Tommy's gonna be either exactly where you think he is or not where you think he is. I'll let you decide that. I dare not spoil it. I dare not spoil it. I do stand by what I said about like the inclusion of Adam, Rocky, and Aisha. I do think that when your show is over 100 episodes long, it is important to introduce new blood into the cast. I wish that it hadn't been for the reasons that it was. Like, what happened to Austin, Walter, and Twee was just terrible. Like, Saban, I don't care if I'm talking about Haim or the studio. Like, that's messed up, man. That's not okay. Like, you can't treat people like that, especially when they're the reasons that you have all this fancy money to not give your people in the first place. Like, that's not okay, man. But enough of that. One character I'll talk about real quick, Scorpina. I'll talk about Scorpina. I feel like Scorpina had a lot of potential. Scorpina was a really good filter to Goldar because, fun fact, before they decided to go with the Z idea, Goldar was actually going to betray Rita. We see that with, like, he is the one who created, like, Ranger duplicates from the putties to try and battle the Rangers. That was his idea. Rita, he did not consult Rita at all with that. Like, they were originally planning to have Goldar betray Rita, and you can kind of see that in the episodes leading up to the mutiny. And they actually kind of ended up making it work, because the moment Zed arrived, Goldar did not hesitate for even a second to turn on Rita and, you know, twist his loyalties over to Zed. And when Rita did come back, he dedicated a lot of time figuring out what the hell Rita did to Zed to make him fall in love with her and how he might be able to undo it. Now, we all know by this point he failed in doing that, but it just goes to show Goldar didn't like Rita. And I feel like Scorpina is actually a really good opposite to Goldar in that regard, because Rita and Scorpina actually hold each other in very high regard. They consider themselves some level of friends. I don't know the exact specifics. I just know that Rita does speak fondly of Scorpina when she is introduced. So, and she's just as much of a threat to the Rangers as Goldar is. I just wish that she hadn't up and disappeared. Because if you recall, once Zed steps foot on the planet, Scorpina's gone. Like, she just vanishes, never to be seen or heard from again. We never know what happened to her. I mean, we kind of learn what happened to her in Hyperforce, because that's Hyperforce is a weird canonicity thing where it's like it is canon, but it's also not canon. It's very weird. So, like, if you want to take Hyperforce as like hardcore canon, then Hyperforce dealt with her basically is what happened. But yeah, it's like it was a lot. It was a lot. Scorpina had so much potential. She could have been a really great ally. I feel like she could have been. I feel like they should have used her in the in the wedding multi-parter when, you know, the Rangers are all trapped inside that mansion. I feel like they should have done that, because I mean, like, Rita is essentially planning a coup d'etat, and she's going to need trusted allies. She has Finster, and Finster provides the monsters who basically do whatever they're told. They don't really give a hoot. It would have been smart, and it would have been nice to see Scorpina get involved, because, you know, she's so strong. Like I said, she's at least on par with Goldar, but she disappears. Admittedly, she does later get replaced by Rito Revolto, and I've already spoken that Rito is my favorite villain. And if she had stuck around by the time Rito showed up, the villain cast would have definitely been a little on the crowded side. But I don't know. I feel like at the very least, Scorpina deserved a better departure than just vanishing. Like, poof, she's gone, never to be seen again. We still do not have a proper canon explanation. Again, if you want to take Hyperforce into the equation, then there you go, that's your answer. But, as it stands right now... But as far as, like, the actual TV shows are concerned, we really don't know what happened to Scorpina. I mean, we can assume that provided she was still alive, then she got wiped out with the Z-Wave, same as everyone else. But the fact of the matter is, it didn't work. In my opinion, it did not work. So, just keep that in mind when you watch the character countdown, because it is important, I feel. Oh, what else to talk about? You know what? I did not talk a whole lot about the Alien Rangers, so let's do that. The Alien Rangers are interesting, you know? Because it's like, they only have 10 episodes for one thing. And they don't even spend all of those episodes on Earth. Like, after their initial appearance, they go away for a while to rehydrate on their own planet and then come back. Like, it's this whole thing. And, like, I understand Earth waters are too polluted for them to properly restore themselves. I get that. I understand. But I feel like we shouldn't have had that excuse for them to be away. Because... I mean, the cast literally cannot do anything without them. Like, yeah, sure, Billy is his normal size, but he doesn't have his ranger powers anymore, so he's not going to be that effective when Zed sends down a monster. It's like, I feel like they should have just come up with something, some kind of like MacGyver excuse as to why the Aquatarian Rangers can exist just fine here. They did not need to do that. They did not need to, like, struggle to keep them around. They spend a lot, and I mean a lot of time with the whole you know, everything on Earth is new to them. They're fascinated by everything. They take a little... They kind of put too much focus on that in at least one of the episodes. And I don't know. The Alien Ranger stuff, it just wasn't interesting to me. Their battle boards were neat. You know, they're humanoid Zords that are controlled by, like, I think telepathy or something like that. I don't know. I don't recall. But I stand by what I said. They were the subplot in their own show, and I just feel like that's very telling to like the quality of assurance put into that particular set of Rangers, and it's not a good look. It really isn't. What else is there to say? I think we're pretty much covered. I would have loved to have included, like, proper footage from the 95 movie. And I had a version of that video that did have footage. But unfortunately, as I mentioned in that video, any amount of imagery from that film is currently being flagged by YouTube. And I imagine it's partly because the movie is currently free with ads here on YouTube. So that probably has a lot of contributing factors. Otherwise, you guys would have been able to see a lot more of what I was trying to convey. And I do apologize that I had to make some compromises for that video. I hope you are able to enjoy it in spite of that. The remake movie, Oh, God, the remake movie. Like, what is there to say about it, really? It was, like, I meant what I said. I went into the theater, watched it on day one. I paid money to go and see this movie, and I was with friends, and I told them, this movie's gonna be terrible. Like, it's just, it's bad. It's just bad. I rewatched it for this month with an open mind, thinking, nah. I'm just nostalgia glazed for the originals, and there's no way they're actually that bad. I was very wrong. They were in fact that bad. It sucks that my favorite. It sucks that my favorite brand has to be marred by a movie like that. But between the '95 movie, Once and Always, and the Turbo movie, which we'll talk about year after next, I can comfortably say that when it comes to when it comes to feature films, Power Rangers definitely has more wins than they do losses. At this time, the Disney brand Power Rangers show has not yet aired. I'm always keeping an eye out for it, but it has not yet aired, and I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't know. I'll definitely talk about it once it comes out. Make no mistake of that. So, if you're interested in hearing my thoughts, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. So that way you know what I'm gonna make. But yeah, I think that covers everything. I think that covers just about everything. Thank you guys, again, so much for watching. It really does mean a lot. Every single view, every single subscriber, I appreciate every single one of you. If you have your own opinions, like you agree or you disagree with things that I have said in this video or throughout the month, let me know in the comments. I want to hear it. I'm happy to start a conversation about this. You can expect my video upload schedule to return to normal on the 1st of this next month. Yeah. Catch you later, nerds, and may the power protect you.